How does that work? I mean, you CM Punk specifically. What happened that day, and what happened when the interview was done? What's the push and pull from an organization like the UFC that's going, hey, we're not crazy about that interview?
So the Punk thing was on the day that he announced that he was signing, or the day after that he signed with the UFC. He did I guess he did a series of interviews, and we were one of the ones. So it was a video press tour where I'm sitting waiting for my turn for CM Punk, and he comes on the line, and I could tell that he wasn't really engaged. I mean, I've done this. I'm an adult. I'm a parent, so I can read people like, are they into it or are they not into it? And he wasn't really into it, but. The thing that pissed you off about me is what I like to do, and that is to throw something out there. See, I want to do something to engage him, to make him smile, to just get a rise out of him, so he knows that this is different than the other 5 interviews that he may have done in those 25 minutes. So I prepare a little piece for him, which is, it was a promo piece, which was CM Punk. You got to see him fight on a date against an opponent you don't know at a time you don't know. And so I was just kind of making fun of the fact that he had no idea what he was going to do in the UFC. And I also said in there that, who will his first opponent be? We know he's a vegan, so maybe he'll fight Chef Boyardee. So it was I thought it was funny. I was actually really proud of it, and I thought he was going to laugh his head off. Well, we come out and you can see on his face he is not laughing. So I asked him genuinely, and you tell me, is this out of bounds? I said, here's my question for you. Have you ever taken a real punch to the face? So he says, well, what do you mean? I go, well, you were a professional wrestler, and as much as I admire professional wrestling, you guys do not hit each other for real. You don't punch each other in the face. He goes, well, I guess you haven't seen any of my matches. I go, well, yeah, no, I've seen your matches, but you don't get punched in the face. Sorry. So it all went downhill from there. Is that out of bounds, that question?
No, and back to your original point, you were the guy with the balls to ask the question. That was fair game of Punk. I was a Punk supporter, but in truth, that was the whole storyline going into this fight. Hey, does this convert? The punches aren't the same. You've got a guy that doesn't have bad intentions versus a guy that's going to want to create damage. And no, you were perfectly within your lane, but I do remember that interview as though I just watched it, and he was mad out of the jump. When you came out of Chef Boyardee, his body language had changed.
It's just, and I tell that story. Obviously, I'm biased, right? And when you tell it, you can't kind of not smile at the idea of Chef, because we had the actual Chef Boyardee from a commercial from the 50s where he goes, I'm a Chef Boyardee. And so it was funny. But here's the deal. I reached out to him afterwards and said, hey, I'm sorry if you were offended. I was trying to have some fun. If you felt like I disrespected you, I'm sorry. Well, that didn't do any good. He calls the UFC. He calls Schaller. Do you know?
Of course, Dave Schaller. Yep.
Actually. Yeah, he just left, and he gets in touch with TSN. TSN is then definitely in negotiations for being the Canadian broadcaster for UFC, and all hell breaks loose. And so my boss calls me and says, "What happened?" So I tell him, "Look, I'm a guy who has no problem saying when I'm wrong, right? That's the way I'm wired. I'm wrong. I'm sorry." But I didn't do anything wrong, and he was being a sucky, whiny bitch. And this is what I said to my boss, and he says, "Okay, I'll defend you." So he called Schaller back, and I guess they did a little dance. I called Dana, who I as you know, I know really well. This is some good name dropping going on, by the way. I called Dana and said, what do you think? Or actually, I texted him. He said, I could give a shit, right? What does Dana care? I mean, CM Punk isn't at that point isn't really that relevant to his life, and plus, he doesn't care if Punk is pissed off. So, Schaller, I think he made us take one thing out of it, just like we took something out with your interview. And to answer your question, how does that unfold? How do you determine? I mean, my attitude has always been, screw it. Like you say, you do an interview and, let the chips fall. If you think you're going to get sued, if you think, oh, I made a bad mistake, I offended that person, in a legal sense, then I would always say, well, cut it out. I mean, then I'm saving my ass. But, there's lots of times I've done interviews with guys like you who are, I have no problem saying this. You are amazing at the sort of the verbal dance, right? This is where you live. And you would beat me more often than I would beat you, but I would never cut that out just because you look good and I look bad. So I get really pissed off when I'm forced to edit something out. But sometimes it happens. McEnroe, it happened. Floyd Mayweather, I got to remember the smart-ass line I gave him at the end. I was so proud of it. I thought, good for me. I'm so brave when he's 2,000 miles away. Because it was satellite, right?
Yeah, and see, I feel that same way. You come on, and if it does get heated with a guest, frankly, if you and I were shouting at each other right now, it's like, hey, Landsberg, in sportsmanship, you can't ask me to kill that because that's really good for me. And I'm sorry if you came up short today, but that is what we're doing here. You're going to get exposure, and I'm going to get ratings, and the whole thing moves forward. And that conflict is important. And when you do have that, to your point, even if the guest comes on and shows me up, I'm in. In sportsmanship, I'll still put it out there, even if I come in second on the dance, but that's the trade-off. If I beat you, great, good, fine. But it still goes out because it's still really interesting. And I do feel like, and you had said this earlier, but you're serving the listener. It's like, hey, I don't want to dupe these people. Whatever happened, happened. And whether I took a beating or I gave the other guy one or it all stays friendly, it still happened and it's still the show and we're still putting it out. I think that's fair, isn't it?
Oh, it's fair. But keep in mind also that you and I, as the hosts in this situation, we win no matter what. Like you're a guest on my show and you tear into me and people go, wow, Sonnen owned his ass. That's great TV too. So I win no matter what. And if I beat you, I win. So, the people that, and I'm sure you would agree with this, the people that you really enjoy in this business are ones that you can go at. And people say to me all the time, who's your favorite guest? What do you like? And for me, it's someone who's smarter than me and someone who has thick skin. Because if you're smarter than me, I can try my best to force you into a corner. I can try my hardest. But if you're not as smart as me, then I can't do that. Otherwise, I look like a bully, right? So the best person is someone that I can really challenge and really be my best at and let the cards fall where they may. And that only works, though, if your skin is thick enough that when we go to commercial, you go, hey, this is fun, as opposed to, look, you prick, I'm going to take you down, and it won't be on the air. It'll be off the air. I'm going to find a way to pay you back.
Yeah.
After the Punk thing, I realized, oh, my God, I got 100,000 followers on Twitter, at Hey Landsberg or something like that. He's got 3 million. So my Twitter followers are going after his Twitter followers. Not good for me. And some guy wrote, the shit that people wrote to me, like die. So I when people make fun of me, when people, talk about me having plastic surgery, which I heard like literally every day for 10 years, I'll always respond because it's fun, right? And you totally disarm people when they say something to you that they think is going to piss you off, and you make fun of yourself on the way back. They have no comeback for that. But these were things that were unbelievable. Like one guy wrote to me, hey, too bad it wasn't you instead of Robin Williams that killed himself. So I messaged him back.
Oh, that's not nice.
Yeah. So I messaged him back and said, look, dude, I understand that you think I offended or you feel like I offended your favorite wrestler / UFC fighter. But dude, don't you think that's just a little bit too harsh? Like just a little bit, besides the fact that your guy is coming from the world of wrestling where I'm got to believe that there's lots of times he has conversations with people on camera that aren't really real. So, but there was a whole bunch of that stuff where I would read it out to my family and I would think I understand being pissed, but not die, Landsberg, die. And then it got into the Jew thing and it was actually I didn't care. But it was definitely the ugliest thing that I've ever seen. CM Punk followers versus Landsberg followers, not a good matchup for me. So Punk, I got to tell you this. So UFC, was it 180? Which one was Cormier Anderson?
200. They were 200 on the dot.
Okay, so I was there for 200. And this was 2 weeks after the CM Punk interview. So I'm sitting in the third row. And he is in the second row. Sorry, John Jones.
Yeah, I think you're talking Jones Cormier, and that was 180-something.
Yeah, 182. So this is 182. So 2 weeks after the Punk interview, it's like the Christmas break, and I'm on break, and I'm sitting one row behind CM Punk and his wife. So this is still fresh. I'm still getting death threats. So I say to my son, hey, you hold the camera. You got to take pictures of this. I say to my daughter, you come with me for backup, and I'm going to go and say, hey, I see him. So I go up to him and I say, you don't know me. He goes, I know you. So I'm thinking, okay, it's on. So I said, I just want to come up and say hi. I don't want to be one of those guys that, like real tough guy when you're not in the room and now you're in the room. I said, I'm sorry if I offended you. And that's a genuine I'm sorry, because I was just trying to fuck around with you, right? And it bothered you, and I'm sorry for that. He goes, it's fine, doesn't matter. And there's a picture that I have, Chael, I will send it to you, of him and his wife looking at me and my daughter, and it looks like he is going to kill me. I mean, sometimes it's hard to tell from the picture, right? This is a guy who is just loathing me. And the more mad he gets, right, the more I'm enjoying it, right? Because, I'm under his skin. And
sure.
What do I care? So I will send you this picture, and you will go, oh, my God.
Now, was the picture before or after you did the olive branch? Was it before or after you came and said hello?
The picture was me talking to him.
Oh.
So it's
real
me
time.
And Casey, my daughter. So it's a picture of the two of us with him and his wife, and he just wants to kill me, and it's awesome, right? Because I'm a little shit, right? Now, I've never been in a fight in my life, never punched anyone, and I would have made the comment, look, to be honest with you, I'm not really that afraid, because if you want to slap me on the chest and pound the ground with your foot so it makes a big noise, I'm okay with it.
Hey, you got to send me that picture so when I send out the link for this podcast, I can attach the picture. It'll be a good hook.
Done.